this on? So just for the record, I would rather be here than in the coffin. So thanks, Jay. Thanks, Rory. I'm going to get that third round of applause by thanking Charlotte, Catherine, the entire staff that has put this together. It's a massive effort. Thank you very much. All right, Matt Barthelemy, and I'm going to tell some stories from Fitbit. I'm going to start with some context. I think context is very helpful for understanding. So Fitbit, it's really just an 11-year history, which is pretty short in the span of things. If you think about a company that's founded in 2007, that's when the first iPhone came out. There have been massive changes in 11 years. So in 2006, if I had said to a friend, I really want to get a tracker for my wife, and ideally one that she's comfortable taking to bed every night, that would have been a really weird conversation, but now that's part of a normal conversation. We're #1 brand in wearables, basically invented the category. We have over 25 million active users and counting. That's growing, thankfully. We have tracked more than 6 billion nights of sleep. So for context, Fitbit has tracked more nights of sleep than all sleep centers that do sleep studies around the world, which is pretty massive. So it's big data or huge data. That data, it's all anonymized, but that data teaches us about people, and we're allowed to then create algorithms that can detect serious health conditions. So we've already said that we can detect signs of apnea, signs of AFib, and other life-threatening conditions. So more on that. We now can offer human coaching, actually one-to-one or one-to-many coaching from an actual human coach, and also programs that we built that a coach can leverage with a user. And we're leaning into condition management, so I'll talk more about that. We've countless lives improved and countless lives saved. So we get stories all the time. People write into us and tell us stories about basically how their Fitbit saved their lives. We have medical professionals who've said, you know, if it wasn't for your Fitbit, you wouldn't be standing here right now. You'd be in a coffin. So anyway, little context about Fitbit. So the vision, Fitbit's vision is to make everyone in the world healthier. So I think sounds like a simple phrase, but I think it's simple but powerful. And that's what motivates us to do the work that we do. Okay, so I'm going to break this up into 3 chunks, a little bit about the past, mostly about the present, and then a little bit about the future. So first chunk, I think of the early years of Fitbit, the foundational years, as I would say mostly unidirectional. So here's an image of the product lineup from that point, and we talk about Fitbit family. It's really family in the sense of a line of products. But I would challenge that it doesn't really speak to family in the human sense of a human family. I don't know that we're addressing everybody in most people's family. And also there's a clear thread about fitness. It's actually listed here. There's all these subcategories of fitness: everyday fitness, active fitness, performance fitness. I like that we have a subcategory called Wi-Fi. I'm also glad that the scale wasn't shown to scale, but anyway. So that's sort of how we got to 2016 with this, I would say, sort of, singular thread, more or less. Okay, so today and very recent past. So I would say that we're becoming multidirectional. So we're adding vectors to this more singular line of fitness. So if you think about the core, Fitbit was trying to raise awareness. Again, if we go back, say, 10 years or so, raise awareness. Why is fitness important? Why is getting 10,000 steps beneficial? Why should you think about the amount of sleep you get or the quality of the sleep that you get? This leads to improved behaviors, getting up, getting active, trying to get to bed half hour earlier. And this helps people achieve better fitness, right? So the vectors we're adding are thinking about wellness. So that's sort of a radiating out from general fitness to improved wellness, and we'll talk more about this, and actual health. So fitness and wellness are not the same, fitness and health are not the same. So we're trying to look at this more holistic picture of how we can help people. So thinking about the wellness part, one of the things we leaned into was trying to understand stress. So these are challenges. We all face stress. I faced some stress getting here this morning. And stress is not inherently bad, but unmitigated stress or chronic stress that people feel like they can't manage or do anything about. Like, I was able to get a taxi, I was able to get here, I was able to manage it, it's okay. This whiteboard is a little bit stressful. But we're trying to get this whole picture of what people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So we do a lot of primary and secondary research. We want to understand the condition that people are living in, people we're trying to help. Where are they and what can we do? So in this case, reducing stress, if you take an aspirin and you make the pain go away, it doesn't uplift your spirit, but if you can make stress go down, it actually uplifts your spirit. So there's sort of a teeter-totter effect. So in this case, we actually were looking at, can we help people enjoy life more, feel happier, which is awesome. So people who don't know how to manage their stress, they report that they feel helpless. They don't know what to do. So again, this is the condition that people are living, many people are living in, so we're understanding the context. So we ask people, like, what brought you to Fitbit? What keeps you motivated in working with Fitbit? So these are the top items that people tell us. So not a big surprise, the three down at the bottom are probably what you would guess, but I think the middle part really speaks to wellness. I think people are saying, I have a real motivation to have improved wellness. So, and I'm putting that label on it, but that's how I view those sort of four in the middle. And the emotional well-being and the reducing stress are ones that we keyed into for what I'm going to talk to you about. So we also try to educate ourselves about the physiology, like what's happening when people are dealing with stress. So there's a lot of biomarkers that indicate people are under stress, but they're many and varied, and it's hard to really key on exactly what's the right marker, what's the right metric. But we did find increased heart rate variability, HRV, which is actually a good indicator for how you're doing with stress or how stress is affecting your body. So with heart rate variability, I found this very interesting because on the face of it, when you say heart rate variability, to me it sounds like, oh, that's a bad thing. But actually, heart rate variability is a good thing. So if you have this natural variability in the rhythm of your heartbeat, it's actually a sign that your body is functioning well. What we learned, we didn't invent this, we learned that your paced breathing can actually enhance your heart rate variability. Sort of calms things down, gets your system working in a better, more even fashion. And some very simple things that we could do. So again, this was a discovery like, wow, this is an actual intervention that we could do for people to help them. So we're also looking at, what's the recommendation from experts? When we think about mindfulness, as a component of well-being. And we've learned from people, from experts in the field, there's a ton of research on mindfulness, that small interventions can be especially helpful. There's another component which is interesting, with a company like our background where it's so much about metrics, like did you get your step goal today or did you get your sleep goal today? That in a sense, there shouldn't be a metric. You're not trying to achieve a metric or a score for mindfulness. So it's sort of like we had to sort of separate ourselves out from like trying to achieve this metric and helping people just feel better, right? So we did this, what I think is a simple but powerful intervention. It's the Relax app. You can do it on your Fitbit smartwatch. You could just do a 2-minute breathing exercise. So because we know what's happening with your body, we have sensors on the watch, we can monitor how you're doing. You do a simple guided breathing exercise, and it's been shown to be effective, and people have responded incredibly well. So again, small intervention, but it's making a difference for people. So on sort of building on this idea that, fitness and wellness and health, we set up a project to make a concerted effort to understand more about what's happening in women's lives, women's health and wellness, et cetera. So again, as we've said, fitness is great, absolutely, but fitness isn't everything. And the sort of sad picture on the left, I'm very fit, but I'm not happy. So yeah, fitness is a component of health and wellness, but it's not everything. So a community aspect, a general feeling of well-being is very powerful. So we're trying to understand the context of our users. Pursuing fitness and wellness. There's a lot of trade-offs that go into that. I mean, we all face this, right? It's like, oh, I wanted to go for a run or go have a workout. And it's like, oh, I kind of worked late and I feel like I can't, and so I put it off. And women that we were talking to talked a lot about this. And a lot of people, some of these women feel like they're caretakers to a partner, to children, et cetera, and they actually feel guilty about having that time for themselves. But that time is helping with their health and wellness, so it's a struggle. So again, trying to understand the context. So we did a lot of interviews with women. One of the things we learned was that community and support is huge. Not a big surprise, but it's huge. So I will say, we have running groups and running clubs and workout clubs, et cetera, and people reported that was super helpful for them. It kind of helped keep them accountable, gave them a small community for them to work in. If they were kind of lagging, somebody could encourage them. And within Fitbit, we could do a whole segment on Fitbit's community effort. We have what's been billed as the most positive social network and social media. So we have a whole community segment within our app. There's forums, there's groups, people can create groups, people can sign into challenges, you can invite friends, and we know from research that this is hugely helpful for people, just having that sense of community, whether it's a literal face-to-face community or an online community. So we could talk more about that. Another aspect for women with their health, wellness, fitness was their menstrual cycle. So a lot of women talked about how it impacts them day to day, month to month, how things change, how they, the difference in mood or difference in physical ability or tiredness, energy, et cetera. And people talked about all these different ways that they kept track of it. Some people were, like they kept a spreadsheet, and other people would, note like one day a month, there was a note on the calendar, and other people didn't really track it, didn't think that much about it. So it's a huge span of how people were sort of dealing with and thinking about this part of their lives. But it was very clear that it was a big part of the health and wellness and fitness picture for women. So now we decided, well, we're gonna lean into this, and we're gonna integrate women's reproductive health tracking into the core app and into the smartwatch experience. And I would like you to meet the lead designer on this. This is Garrett. And you might think, wait, you had a guy leading the design effort? In my view, that's actually a great way to go about it. So he was not designing for himself. Believe me, not designing for himself. He's a great designer, and he brings his great process, his great design thinking about how to organize information, how to get from A to B to C. But he had to be guided by users. I mean, completely, right? So in my view, I think it's great. Some people are like, what? I will say the product manager is female, the engineering manager, female, so he had a lot of support. But anyway, did a great job. So again, obviously we had a lot of women giving guidance. He wouldn't have been able to do this without that guidance. Paper prototyping, right? So love paper prototyping. You can see like scribbling on there like mood, craving, stress. This is coming from users, right? So Garrett saying, you tell me, I'm not pretending to know, you tell me. And even what's the hierarchy, like, how do you think we should arrange these? So super helpful to go through this process. And then once we have actual interactive prototypes, again, more rounds of feedback, more opportunity to understand how this is resonating, how it's working for the actual users. So this was introduced earlier this year. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. A couple of screens I can share. So you can see, a calendar view. You can log details, so we can allow you to, log things that we can't detect, right? But that you can tell us if you want to tell us about symptoms you're experiencing, et cetera. And then a more detailed view. Okay, so that was more on the software and experience side. We also wanted to think about, on the hardware side, how are we doing? Are we meeting the needs and the desires of female customers? So with this sort of 2x2 approach to thinking about how hardware is designed, and not just tech products, just products in general, this is sort of like, we'll design it for guys, and then later like, oh yeah, we'll make a female version. At the higher end, there's having women's needs and desires up front, and then there's very specific versus very gender inclusive. So the team populated with a few examples. Like Lululemon, some people think of it as like it's a women's brand, but it's for men and women. And I think maybe they started with women, but they've been very sort of gender inclusive, right? And then there's famous examples like cycling team suits that were clearly designed for men, not designed for women. So the result of this, I'm skipping through this pretty quickly, but we introduced earlier this year the Fitbit Versa. And as was noted in the intro, this has become the best-selling product in Fitbit's history, which we're super excited about. And it's not for women. It's in my view, it's very sort of gender inclusive. There's lots of SKUs on here that I think look more masculine, some that may look more feminine. It's selling to men and women for sure, but in this case, it's over 2/3 women, and in the smartwatch category, that's a pretty great accomplishment. So we're very happy with the Versa. We have CMF, band sizing, band options, which again are meant to be gender inclusive. So there are men buying the Versa. It's not a woman's watch. But again, if we think about this sort of multi-vector approach, I'm going to show you our next watch. Sorry, I forgot that I have some of these where people are giving us accolades. The best all-around Fitbit to date. Fitbit's strongest counterpunch to Apple Watch. Yeah, okay. There's room for everybody. We want to win, but there's room for everybody. Okay, so Fitbit Ionic is, if you think of a more sort of sport fitness super watch. So it is a smartwatch, it's a great watch, third-party apps, all kinds of goodness on there, but I mean, I think of this as a pretty serious workout watch. So I think for the adoption for this tends to be people are a little more sport fitness serious, really into their workouts, swim workouts, all kinds of workouts, triathletes, et cetera. And the purchase audience for this is skewing male, probably not hugely surprising. It is attractive to astronauts. That guy is wearing a Fitbit. He's got the haircut. He is clearly an astronaut. But he's gonna take our watch into outer space, which I think is super cool. We didn't give him that. He chose that on his own. So. Also, they showed me the laser pointer, so I'm going to use it. See, even cool ex-presidents like the Ionic. All right, so another vector. We're now looking at kids. So this year we introduced Fitbit Ace, which is the first product we've done that's specifically for kids. So we know that kids have been wearing Fitbits for years. They ask their parents for one, or the parents upgrade and then they get the old one and they're walking around in the Fitbit. In the U.S., there's some privacy laws about children, so they have to either lie about their age or just have their parents sign them up. to actually get into our ecosystem. So now we're creating a product that's specifically for kids and allowing their parents to set it up for them. Other countries, there's different regulations. So we think the sweet spot for this particular product is 8 to 12, gender neutral, gender inclusive. And you might think that the blue one is for babies because it's really little, but that's not true. It's just floating in the background. And I don't know why, but do we have audio? So you can see the blue one is regular size. Yeah, so we're excited about this, and we're getting a lot of positive response. There's a comment here, Fitbit Ace, to help kids finally put down their screens. So again, if we think about the changes that have occurred over the last 11 years, I will say kids are definitely, I think, spending more time, in a static mode, looking at screens, on the rug, looking at screens. So anything that sort of, helps get the activity level up, health and fitness, and then this family aspect of sort of family challenges or mom and dad saying, hey, how'd you do? I will also say that sleep for kids as a parent is hugely important. So being able to track and monitor kids' sleep is really a big benefit. So you have a sense for how much your kids are sleeping, but now you can actually have more data on that. So we're now making products that appeal to astronauts and also to kids that want to be astronauts. This is a 9-year-old that lives in my house. She wants to be an astronaut, and she likes her Fitbit Ace. She's demonstrating. I learn a lot from her. And yes, that's my daughter, and no, I'm not a creepy stalker. She's wearing her astronaut shirt, which is completely coincidental. She doesn't even know that she's in this PowerPoint. So she did ask, my wife took photos, and she said, am I going to be on a TV commercial for Fitbit? So I'm going to have to manage that. All right, so this is our current lineup. Sorry, this is not our complete lineup. This is the newest products that we've brought to market. So Fitbit Ionic, I'm actually showing the Adidas edition, again, leaning more into sport. The Versa with female health tracking, you can do it right on your watch. Again, we're trying to reduce that friction, make it just a normal part of your daily or monthly activity. And then Fitbit Ace, now we're doing products specifically for kids. So we're sort of adding vectors, and I think we're attracting a bigger slice of the family with these offerings, and not just hardware but software. Okay, but wait, there's more. We just introduced our newest tracker. People have told us, I don't really want a smartwatch. I like a tracker. I like something more like a bracelet. We're like, great. So we still make great trackers. Charge 3 has this it's a touch screen, first time touch screen on a tracker. Amazing display, grayscale, high resolution. It's really great, and even supports some third-party apps. So you can get some of the benefit that accrues to a smartwatch, but we're bringing that to a tracker. Great bands, great accessories, because there's still a fashion component to all this, and we know that. So our products, we know they need to look great, they need to feel great. So super excited about this. Start shipping this month, but the dates vary by geography. So, all right, so a little bit, I have 48 seconds left, a little bit about the future. So I decided to call it Omnidirectional. So if we go back to the vision, again, simple but powerful, make everyone in the world healthier. So everyone, that's a whole lot of different types of people. And in the world is a whole lot of different cultures. So we've got a lot of work to do if we really want to reach everyone around the world. So in the short term, some of the things that we're really leaning into: behavior change. So if you think about like basic behavior change, back in the day, like seat belts were considered optional, and then shoulder belts became normal, and now airbags are normal. So that's just an awareness that leads to behavior change. We've done that with fitness, with steps, with sleep. We're trying to up the ante on behavior change. So there'll be a lot more on that. But again, this is a simple statement about thinking about behaviors. So this idea that, if your motivation is high and the effort required to make a change is also high, you can do it because that motivation's high. But in that sort of nether region, those prompts to say, hey, try this new behavior, it's really hard to make that work. So we're trying to understand all these different things about challenges that people face and how we can help them. This year we acquired a company called Twine. So they have a coaching platform. So it helps people develop action plans and then pairs them with a human coach that can help them pay off on that action plan. So using the app on the phone or interventions on the watch, we can support that action plan and support that communication between the user and their coach. So what we love about this is we didn't have to build it from scratch. It's proven, it's tested, we know that it works. We're super excited. We actually just rebranded them 2 weeks ago, so it's now called Fitbit Plus. But originally the company was called Twine. So very excited about the potential for bringing action plans and human coaching. All right, so I'm wrapping up. Be healthy. Consider getting some walk in. Be well. Make time for a friend. And before I end, I have to say thank you to everybody, teams at Fitbit, all the people that did so much great work, all the things I showed you, a tremendous amount of work from a really tremendous team. I get to work with great people, and it helps my wellness. So, thank you.